So this bill has to do with law enforcement officers at the federal level and the guardrails that they have to meet in order to conduct business in the Commonwealth. And the substitute before you requires that for any cooperation with Virginia law enforcement agencies to take place, the federal government must agree to the following. One, ICE shall provide the names and the ranks of all federal agents involved in immigration enforcement within the Commonwealth at least 7 days prior to the operation. Two, they have to comply with all applicable Commonwealth laws. Three, the agents involved must be clearly identified as immigration and custom enforcement. The word police does not satisfy that requirement. Number four, that no enforcement activity shall be conducted on the property of any school, church, or courthouse. That ICE and its agent consent to the jurisdiction of Virginia courthouse for any civil or criminal violations committed while performing their official duties. That ICE shall not request or demand information unrelated to the investigation of the specific person. That ICE shall not request information from any locality regarding immigration status without a judicial warrant or subpoena. Any agency that has an existing agreement as of July 1st, when this becomes effective, has until September 1st to obtain a modified agreement in writing which satisfies these conditions. Otherwise, any agreement is rendered null and void. In addition to any existing rights to seek relief, the Attorney General is empowered to enforce this section. This bill ensures that our institutions and labor of our fellow Virginians are not weaponized against migrants, protesters, elected Democrats, or anyone else that the Trump regime chooses to target. And over the last year, we have learned that every one of us could be targeted. Now, the reason for this bill is the series of things that have taken place in our nation, where we begin with the enforcement that the Trump administration and his Department of Homeland Security wants to place. And a lot of these cooperation that takes place where immigrant communities feel threatened, and most of them, are fearful of their life. So when they get pulled over, they get asked the question, what is their immigration status? That has nothing to do with getting pulled over. And we have seen many folks that have been arrested over the last the last year. And in 2027, we have seen over the last few weeks, including not too long ago, that American citizens have been shot who don't look like me, who look like the most of you on this up here. So it is not a bill to just say we're going to protect certain class of groups. It is to ensure that every Virginian in here feels safe.
Okay, so let me just try to frame this up. As opposed, well, let me try to listen to me first, and then you get your question. Okay, go ahead and ask a question, ask a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Salim, you said that we recently had seen people who had been shot, and they looked more like me than you. Where did that happen?
This happened in Minnesota.
Right.
And
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator.
Does Minnesota have an agreement with ICE?
I don't know.
They do not.
I don't know.
They do not. In fact, I will tell
Senator Stewart
that they have something like this. They have something that says you will not cooperate with ICE, and I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing happen there. And I just point that out for the committee.
Right. Well, Senator, that's not what this says, and that's what I was about to point out, which is what this bill says. First of all, Virginia, I believe, has about 3287G agreements. The one the state had is in the process of being revoked by now by our new governor, but I believe there's 30 others in localities. And what this bill says is that all of our localities are perfectly able to enter into 287G agreements if they want, but if they want to, there are certain minimum standards they have to meet, which is that ICE has to agree to identify themselves, they have to agree to follow Virginia law, they have to submit themselves to the jurisdiction of Virginia's courts, that they have to follow, I think, Virginia, they can't have the word police on any of their stuff to confuse people. They have to say they're ICE. They can't demand big, broad swaths of data from the government. They can only ask information if it relates to a specific person. And I believe they also can't conduct any enforcement activity on the property of any school, church, or courthouse, that they have to conduct their enforcement activities elsewhere. And that is if they want to have a 287G agreement with a locality. Those are the minimum standards. I think that's what the bill does. So it doesn't say ICE can't come here. It just says if they do, they have to agree to certain things. Is that right, Senator?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair,
Okay.
just to clarify Senator Stewart's question, there are about 8 counties in Minnesota that have agreements with ICE.
Okay. Senator Stewart looks like he has another question.
Well, no, Mr. Chairman. That's not the point I was trying to make. They don't need permission to come to Virginia. They're federal law enforcement, and we are preempted by federal law for them to come in. But when you put requirements such as this to cooperate, what I fear is you're putting a target on the back of the people you're actually trying to help. And I would encourage you to think about that, because I think that's what you ultimately do when you tell the federal government, we're not cooperating with you unless you do this, meet our demands. They're just going to say, well, we don't need your cooperation. We'll just barnstorm Virginia. And I think actually you are putting targets on the people you're trying to help.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions to the patron? No. Okay, doesn't look like it. Okay, so why don't we go to? I'm sorry, Sturdivant. I didn't see the queue. Go ahead.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just 2 questions. Number one, if ICE were engaged in an undercover investigation under this law, would they have to identify themselves and have an ICE placard or something like that?
Mr. Chair, and to Senator Sturdivant, the way this is written, if they have undercover operations, they would have to notify local law enforcement under that agreement that they would have to do that 7 days in advance. But I would refer back to counsel for clarification on that.
Yeah, my question is there an exception for undercover operations, like infiltrating gangs and that sort of thing?
I wasn't aware that's something ICE did, but
Yeah, they were given, Mr. Chairman, Congress gave ICE, authorized ICE to conduct undercover investigative operations via the Homeland Security Act of 2002. So I didn't see that exception in there. So that's obviously, I think, a challenge with this bill. And
and Senator, I would just note, at least my read of the bill says that if they're operating in Virginia, they have to be identified as an agent of ICE, and they can't use the word police on their uniform. If there's a jurisdiction in Virginia that wants to have a 287G agreement, and ICE has to agree to do that within Virginia.
so if they would be conducting undercover operations, it sounds like they would have to wear ICE placards and identify themselves as such. Second question is...
Unless they didn't want to have 287G agreements in Virginia, they could just say, we're not going to do those in Virginia. Right.
The second question is, if ICE were aware that an MS-13 gang member were at a courthouse for a traffic offense or a DUI, as I read the bill, this would preclude them from apprehending that gang member in the courthouse. Is that accurate?
Inside the property of.
Mr. Chair, I would prefer that to counsel.
Inside the courthouse or on property of, I think, right?
Mr. Chair, could I just have Senator Sturdivant repeat his question so I make sure I'm answering it correctly?
Yes. So if ICE were aware that an MS-13 gang member were appearing in court in Virginia on a traffic charge, DUI, if this were law, they would be prohibited from apprehending that MS-13 gang member in the courthouse.
Lines 34 and 35, Mr. Chairman, I think would answer that question.
Yeah, but counsel, isn't it correct to say they could wait outside the courthouse, as they've done with many people in my county, and get them as soon as they walk out the front door?
That's correct, so long as they're not on the property of the courthouse.
I think to follow up and put a finer point on that, Mr. Chairman, is we would be putting, we would be creating a situation where you have the opportunity for a high-speed chase or a MS-13 gang member running through the parking lot of the courthouse, as opposed to this person being apprehended within a relatively controlled environment of a secure courthouse. But Thank you for answering my questions.
Senator, what I would say is that the report I got from my senator was that's exactly what was not happening in our courthouse in Fairfax, where there was a lot of confusion about who ICE even was or whether they were there just as part of a gangbang in the courthouse because they weren't wearing uniforms, and it caused all this consternation. Our sheriff didn't know who to arrest because of the way that things were going down in the courthouse, because of the way ICE was behaving. So I'm not sure it's quite that controlled. Senator Obenshain, I'm sorry, I think Carol Foy was in. Is she still in? And then I got Stanley and then Obenshain, I think.
Mr. Chairman, just speaking to the bill at the appropriate time.
That'll be at the end. Stanley, you got a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do. Senator, from what I understand, of course, the first day in office, our new governor issued an executive order, correct? Saying that basically our local authorities, our local police and sheriff could choose whether they wanted to enter into an agreement with federal agents, but that was up to them, right?
Mr. Chair, Senator Stanley, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Stanley.
In fact, since that order, would you not agree with me that over 26 local sheriff's offices located in the Commonwealth of Virginia and 4 state law agencies have entered into agreements with ICE to enforce federal immigration laws? Is that correct?
Mr. Chair,
I'm not fooling. So.
Senator Stanley, I'm not aware of the ones that have been signed since the new governor took over.
Mr. Chairman.
Stanley.
Thanks, Servo. I'm asking you to assume that that's true, and I'm reading from exactly a story with regard to this. And you would also agree with me that our local sheriffs in every county and city that have them are constitutional officers and independent in that regard, that they are created by our Virginia state constitution. Is that not correct?
To Mr. Chair and Senator Stanley, that is correct.
And Mr. Chairman. Go ahead. So you are now, by this bill, then limiting or directing what a independent constitutional office created by the Constitution of law enforcement, a sheriff, can and cannot do, or what type of agreement they can or cannot, to the extent of that agreement, enter in with a federal agency, a federal law enforcement agency. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, and to answer Senator Stanley's question, we're limiting the criteria that they must follow in order to have those agreements.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Stanley.
Thanks. I'd ask the senator again, though. I mean, what you're saying is in lines 35 and lines 44, like, number one, that you're saying that if the sheriff's department, the 26 that have entered into these agreements, if they are to enter into these agreements with these subsequent, with this law in place, that the agreement must say that they subject themselves to the laws of the Commonwealth and the jurisdiction of the Commonwealth if any laws are broken. Correct?
Mr. Chair, to Senator Stanley, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And in number 7, that in that agreement to cooperate, these 26 sheriff's departments and 4 state agencies, that if your law passes, that in their agreement, they have to, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement has to agree that none of its agents shall request information from any locality regarding the immigration or citizenship status of any person, or unless it's made with a valid judicial warrant or judicial subpoena? Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, and to Senator Stanley, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So in effect, your law, as it pertains to these independent political subjects, these constitutional officers, that your law would say you can't share information with regard to the status of someone that may reside in that county regarding their immigration or citizenship status unless they get a warrant. Where would that warrant come from?
It's not exactly what it says, Senator, but go ahead and answer if you can, Salim.
Mr. Chair, to Senator Stanley, again.
It's line 44, Senator. All the way down. Unless such request is made pursuant to a valid judicial warrant or judicial subpoena.
Correct. So they would have to get a, Mr. Chair, they would have to get a valid warrant to go after somebody that has a immigration status issues or anything else. We are simply asking ICE to comply with those rules.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on a second. Counsel, Benjamin, do you agree that anytime somebody's arrested and they're inputted into VSIN, ICE is automatically notified the second they're arrested that they've been arrested. That's a matter of baseline law, whether this is passed or not.
No, that's not true.
I think that's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator.
How can you get, I'd ask the Senator, how can you get a warrant if you don't have the information, if they can't share the information?
Because they've just been notified pursuant to the background, the notification I just identified. That's how it happens every day in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in Fairfax. We had this exact debate last year in this committee.
Thank you, Senator Salim. You sound a lot like Senator Servo.
No problem. I'm trying to move this along.
So you are going to, in effect, tie the hands or limit what these sheriff's departments can and cannot do or can and cannot agree to with federal agency if they're ready, willing, and able to help with enforcement of federal law in their jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, and to Senator Stanley, we are essentially saying if the federal agencies would like to cooperate with us, there are certain rules that are in this bill that they must follow in order to have those cooperations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have no other questions in the queue. Why don't we take opposition?
Anyone online opposed to the bill, please raise your hand electronically now. Carla Poff.
Hi, I'm Carla Poff. I am in Southwest Virginia. Courthouses are the safest place to hand over an illegal alien. I myself have had to go through the immigration process with a former ex-husband. As a former Democrat, we had a very strong stance on immigration. And now that it seems that slush funds are being made and our government officials are becoming rich off of this, all of a sudden now we're opposed to working with our federal government. I oppose this bill. We need to keep ourselves safe. You need to think about your citizens first.
Rodrigue.
Anybody else? That's it? Okay. Supporters, come on up. We'll reset the timer.
Anyone online wanting to support the bill, please raise your
Get
hand
3 minutes,
electronically now.
so hurry on up.
Yes. My name is Keith Conway. I support this bill. Jurisdiction. The U.S. attorneys claimed exclusive jurisdiction in the Renee Good shooting and blocked Minnesota state officials from obtaining evidence. It's now been ruled a homicide. So this bill gives police the ability to watch, monitor, and report a federal immigration officer if they're present in any kind of regular police stop. Thank you.
Okay, next up, come on, let's go. We got time, the clock's rolling.
Hi, Sophia Gregg from the ACLU of Virginia. The ACLU's position is that the 287G and any like agreements which co-opt local law enforcement to carry out immigration enforcement erode the community's trust and make us less safe. We would like, having just reviewed the amendment very quickly, if there's anything that we can point out to ensure that the current jurisdictions that have 287G agreements could be restricted and limited to the same provisions that are outlined here, as well as any other limitations that would ensure that local law enforcement is bound by Virginia law, even when
Lines 47 through 51 require all current agreements to recertify pursuant to this statute.
Peggy Pridemore. I live in Virginia, and I like this bill because I want this safety measures for me, my neighbors, my friends, my loved ones, my children. Everybody needs this statute. Thank you for bringing it.
Frida Cathcart from Roanoke, Virginia. I'm a certified legal observer. My neck is literally on the line when I go out to document for law firms. Please vote for this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, I'm Wendy Ginsburg, Legislative Director for the City of Alexandria. On behalf of the city, we strongly support this bill. Recently, masked federal immigration officers detained construction workers in Alexandria's Chiralagua neighborhood. The impact of the incident reached far beyond those individuals detained by ICE. Residents questioned whether local government was involved, whether calling the police was safe, and feared that everyday interactions with officers in the community could carry unintended consequences. And for those reasons, we support this bill and encourage you to do so.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Pablo Hernández, soy inmigrante de Nicaragua, residente de Chesterfield y miembro de casa. Estoy aquí para solicitar su apoyo para poner hoy en muchas familias como la mía viven con miedo constante, miedo de ir a trabajar, conducir al hospital, incluso de buscar justicia en los tribunales como en los tribunales puede resultar en la separación de nuestra familia. Nos preocupa que una simple intervención con las autoridades puedan provocar
need you to wrap it up.
supervisión familiar, abuso de poder.
Señor, es posible que otro, por favor. Gracias.
May I try this? Good afternoon. My name is Pablo. I'm an immigrant from Nicaragua. I'm a resident.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm going to put 2 more minutes on the clock, and then we're going to stop it. I know there's 19 people online, too. You need to be quick.
Good afternoon. My name is Pablo. I'm an immigrant from Nicaragua, a resident of Chesterfield, and a member of CASA. I am here to ask for your support to end 287G in Virginia. Today, many families like mine in constant fear of going to work, driving to hospitals, or even seeking justice in court. As we have seen, showing up to courts can lead our families being broken apart. We worry that a simple interaction with authorities will lead to family separation. The overreach of federal enforcement has broken our trust with law enforcement.
I think it'd probably be more efficient. You just came up and said who you are, who you're with, and that you support the bill.
Sheila, Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Beatrice Samberman, the Virginia Coalition of Latino Organizations, and we are here to support the bill.
My name is Nympha. I come from Petersburg, and I'm here to support the bill and also ask that what is the purpose of local police? It's not to enforce immigration laws.
Good afternoon, Chair Sorville and members of the committee. My name is John Cano, Senior Supervising Organizer with the Legal Aid Justice Center. We support this bill. Also, we sent over 32 FOIAs across the Commonwealth, and we found with our FOIAs that there are incentives for local police to make arrests. This is not about safety, it's about reaching quotas, and it's diverting from our local law enforcement and state law enforcement to do what their duty is, protecting Virginians. Thank you. We support this bill.
Good afternoon, Charlie Turner with the Virginia Muslim Civic League. We support the bill.
Good afternoon, Tram Wynn with New Virginia Majority, and we support the bill.
Good afternoon, Monica Sarmiento with the Virginia Coalition for Immigrant Rights, and we support this bill.
Freddie Mejia with the Commonwealth Institute, and we support the bill.
Barb Protasio, McLean, Virginia. I support this bill.
Good afternoon. David Aldridge with the Virginia Coalition for Progressive Values, and we support this bill.
Good afternoon. Sandra Benemente with Ayuda. We support this bill.
I'm Mark Sfair, and safeguarding our courts against warrantless arrests is a good thing for trust. I support this bill.
Don Slayman, the Executive Board of the Northern Virginia Labor Federation, workers' rights or immigrant rights, we support the bill.
Okay, that's it on time. If you're online, if you could raise your hand, we'll count you up. Do we still have 19 people online, or how many we got? I see that lighting up. How many? Okay, we have 19 people signed up online. Thank you for taking the time to wait through our hearing and indicate your support online, but we can't take any more testimony because of our time constraints. That's it for testimony. It looks like Aird has a question for Salim.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, Patron, on line 35 of the substitute, where you delineate any school, church, or courthouse within the Commonwealth, I wondered if you might consider a friendly amendment to say faith-based organization instead of church, to just ensure we catch all religious-based entities.
Sorry, what did you want to say?
Faith-based organization.
Mr. Chair, and to the senator, I'd be open to that.
Well, given that shortly after President Trump was sworn in last time, they did an ICE raid on a hypothermia shelter in my district. I think that's probably a good idea. It's been moved and seconded that we strike it from church to faith-based organization. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Carol Foy's in the queue. Okay.
I have a motion.
Salim, anything else you want to say? I think it's a motion to report and re-refer.
Mr. Chair, I do want to point out that, this bill is not only to protect all Virginians, it's also the illegal and unconstitutional, response to what the federal government has been trying to do. And under our federal law, we're not saying they shouldn't follow them. We're simply saying is that a lot of communities of color, a lot of communities where most folks that look like me are targeted every single day, that we are in a constant fear, whether we're citizens or not, that we have to prove over and over that we do belong here. And this bill will ensure that those communities do not fear folks who are coming here without sort of any type of designation that they are federal agents. And we have seen not one but two executions or murders, if we call it that, in January of 2026. In addition to the other folks that have died in ICE custody over the last year or so, and this number will continue to increase. And we don't want Virginia to turn into Minnesota, where they're going to be coming here, searching people's cars, going to people's doors. This is something where if the other side is going to be talking about states' rights, ensuring that states have their ability to control these things, this is the way to do it. And I believe this is something that's going to not only protect, not just Virginians, essentially every single person, regardless of what part of Virginia you're in.
Okay, and Carol Foy.
Yes, speaking to the bill, and then I have a motion.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I want to say that, or clarify, Mr. Chairman, that I believe the governor's executive order terminates the state's existing 287G agreements between ICE and Virginia State Police and Virginia Department of Corrections. So thank you for bringing this bill. This bill is something that's absolutely needed to address the localities and their entry into these agreements with ICE. 287G, to be clear, is where pretty much local law enforcement are deputized to act as ICE agents, using our resources and taxpayer dollars to do something that the federal government is charged to do, acting under the color of authority of our Commonwealth. But at the end of the day, right now, we know that there are children being kidnapped off corners, and there are people being unalived in the streets. And so here in our Commonwealth, we want to make it crystal clear that if there is to be any 287G that's entered with any locality, that there has to be transparency, that you have to have it clear what agency you work for, that you cannot roam our streets with a mask, that you are not a mob, that you cannot just pick people up and children up and treat this as if this is some other type of country where we don't have laws that people have to abide by. No one is above the law, and that's exactly what this bill does. So I do believe that this shouldn't be an issue of left and right. It really is an issue between what's right and what's wrong. And with that, I would ask that we report the bill and re-refer it to finance.
Okay, Oben Shane has in the queue, and so is Favola. It's been moved to secondary report.
I will be very brief, but listening to some of the speeches today and yesterday, I cannot help but think how proud some of our former members would be to have heard the Declaration of Adherence to our 10th Amendment rights and the principle of states' rights. And I just can envision my old friend Ken Cuccinelli delivering the same address during the Obama administration, and I suspect that we would have had a very different outcome.
Okay, Favola.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess I heard from the other side that they might be very excited about voting for this bill since they want to protect the rights of all Virginians. And you've I heard you say you were standing up for states' rights, and I'm proud to hear that. And I'm really pleased that Senator Salim is taking this so seriously, brought a bill before us, and is really making a statement about how we are going to protect the rights of Virginia citizens here in Virginia.
My colleague.
I support the motion.
Okay, Stuart.
Mr. Chairman, this bill gives me a great deal of concern, and I'll be very frank. I think it impedes localities from using their law enforcement to protect their communities. We all have to live by the rule of law. And it seems to me that in certain instances, we only want selective enforcement, and that ain't right. We've all got to live by the same laws, and we ought not be telling communities what they can and can't do to protect their citizens. And I will tell you unequivocally that by passing a bill like this and not allowing communities to cooperate with ICE to only try to target people who have violated the law, you're going to end up getting many, many, many more ICE agents in Virginia, and you're not going to like the result of it. So I hope we will not pass this bill.
Okay, that's it. I could give a speech too, but I'm going to defer. Clerk, the bill's been moved that the substitute is meant to be reported and referred to finance. Clerk will open the roll.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Shocker. Okay. Next up.